This is interpreting a solubility curve, and the question is publicly available from the MyAP AP Chemistry question bank. So the question says, on the basis of the solubility curve shown, the greatest percentage of which compound can be recovered by cooling a saturated solution of that compound from 90 to 30 degrees Celsius. So first, let's take a look at just interpreting a solubility curve. So I'm highlighting the solubility curve for potassium sulfate. This is a combination of all the temperatures that will give us that will represent a saturated solution. So for example, at 90 degrees Celsius, we can dissolve about 175 grams of the potassium sulfate, and at 30 degrees Celsius, we can dissolve about 155 grams. Everything above the potassium sulfate solubility line represents a supersaturated solution. Everything below that line represents an unsaturated solution. So let's take a look at answering the question. We're going to be looking at cooling the various solutions down from 90 degrees to 30 degrees Celsius. So I've highlighted that with a blue region. So let's look first at the potassium sulfate. Initially, we have 175 grams is in solution. As we reduce the temperature, the solubility is going to decrease until we only have 155 grams that remains in the solution. That means 20 grams precipitates. So to calculate the percent that would be recovered, we would take 20 grams, that's how much would precipitate out, and divide it by 175 grams, that's how much we had originally. Now let's look at what would happen with potassium nitrate. With potassium nitrate, we start with about 130 grams. As the solution cools, now we have a supersaturated solution, so we're going to precipitate out everything represented by the down arrow, because we're going to end up at 25 grams being soluble. So we end up with 105 grams precipitate. We started with initially with 130 grams. So if we go back and rewrite these numbers up on top, which I had erased, we can see that this is a much larger percentage. Now we could look at the other curves also, the sodium chloride, the potassium chromate, but we can see here that we have the steepest curve, and so our answer must be the sodium chloride as the answer.